Hello there, this is Dr. Kim Eagles with Global Ed, and today we have Michelle Bell, our trainer, joining us as we discuss conflict resolution. Stay tuned and listen in on new professional development tips.
So they're logging in when they want to log in, and that's fine. And I do tell them, if you want to log in, go ahead. You can just listen, you can watch and see what we do. And this is first through third. So I have some of my first graders, they log in when I'm doing a third grade session. And I don't mind at all. It doesn't bother me that they're just wanting to see what we're doing. And I don't want to say your time is until this time. That's just not me to say. I wouldn't want to do that. But I do, I keep it open for them.
Right.
And I do say, I'm going to have my go-to meeting open from this time to this time. And if you want to log in, go ahead and log in. If you have questions, go ahead and log. I'll just keep it open. And
right.
Sometimes I will hear, like when I'm doing other things, I'll hear, Ms. Shardy, are you there? I said, yeah, I'm here. So it's just open all the time for them.
Well, that's really nice because, I think it is giving them that new awareness and just to be engaging in it. And I think that that's probably that learning. It's a learning process that, they're learning to focus and to stay. I think maybe even the social aspect of it, they just like, I want to be involved. I don't want to really miss out.
I do give them that time. Like I will leave. Mm-hmm. I will walk off. I say, you guys can say whatever you want to each other. And I do leave. I leave the room, but I just want them to be able, I give them like a 5-minute time where they're socializing, saying good morning, or they're showing their pets, they're showing stuff from home to each other. I don't mind that because they really miss that, and it's all fine with me. And one of the other things I do is I want them to be comfortable enough to ask and just log in, and they do.
Yeah.
And comfort is important. I'm always a strong advocate for students being comfortable in the classroom and not so strict, follow the rules kind of a person. I will monitor, I will facilitate and guide and put them back in line, but I'm not one that would say, I just don't, because I watched myself growing up and being in a classroom with strict rules and strict, you just tend to just hold everything back and just don't want to ask anything. And it's not comforting. And I know that kids open up more. Their thinking opens up more, their thoughts, when they're comfortable.
Yeah.
So that's important to me.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that it really does help to provide a trusting environment that they can see that you trust them, and I think in this environment that's really building that some self-esteem, mm-hmm. And as I said, within this past almost 2 years of remote or virtual type of teaching, the students are engaging and transforming into a whole new area of information and the ways to pay attention and to engage in this trust, I think is one of the biggest things. One thing that I have heard in research lately is the importance of us preparing students for the next fall semester, really getting them prepared, not necessarily academically, but just the engagement aspect of just being able to be comfortable. They've gone through such a big thing, whether it's in the house, in the home, in the community, loss of friends and family members. A lot has really taken place. And I like this idea of you building that trust. And it's like, yeah, I trust you. I'm going to give you that time to work and to socialize with others. So very nicely done. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, well, looks like we have a couple of other people. Looks like we have Doreen. I know Mark has been on and off. Good morning, Doreen, Pearl, and Mark. Um, Glad to see you here. And I think we'll go ahead and get underway. And this is actually our last session for this semester. And it's a little bittersweet right now. You know, one thing, I'm really glad that my summer is about to really start. But on the other hand, yeah, I've really grown to appreciate you all and the undertaking that you're involved in. And wow, yeah. So onward and upward, basically. And here's to the end of one thing and the new beginning of some other things. So I'll go ahead and get my screen shared. I was telling Michelle earlier that I haven't really been online too much. I haven't even had my computer up, and so I'm kind of getting used to the whole process again. It's funny how so quickly we can lose that focus. But we'll go ahead and get started. Officially, good morning. And I just thought this was the perfect image for the beginning of summer, these wonderful popsicles, and just reminds me of outdoors and sunshine and yeah, new beginnings. So I really appreciate you guys being here. All right, so today we are going to get involved in this lesson 6 of the series of life lessons and life survival skills that not only take place and we need to be reminded in the situation of early education, elementary school, but even as, of course, instructors, teachers, educators, we need to learn how to deal and to focus on resolving conflict. So we're going to go through this little journey today in learning some new tools about these life skills, and we're moving right on into resolving conflict. And with that, you know, leading to creative positive attitudes and how we understand and teach the process of fairness in the classroom. We haven't really dealt too much with the K through 2nd, 3rd graders. We focused the last couple of weeks on 3rd through 5th, 6th grade. So today we're going to put the focus back on the K through 2nd grade. And so we want to start, I always like to start with giving a clear definition of some of these terms. And this is where I so appreciate Michelle. And if you can help me with going through and reading these definitions.
Sure. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. A conflict is a clash of interests. The basis of conflict may vary, but it is always a part of society. Basis of conflict may be personal, racial, class, caste, political, and international. Conflict in groups often follows a specific course.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. You know, I guess I was most impressed with the simplest form of what conflict is, as it states here. It's a clash of interest. And isn't that just so true about what conflict is? It is like we all have our own area of where we feel this is important. And oftentimes, if someone else is not as like-minded as we are in this interest, then that's where the conflict arises. And I just think it's a marvelous thing to be able to introduce this concept and this theory of what conflict is when we truly identify it. then we can kind of break it down and share it with some practical, from a practical perspective onto our students. So we're going to definitely move into that. There's also a theory in research that is called the conflict theory, which is pretty intensive, but it bases much research on this idea of conflict and resolution and just being able to overcome that. So, oftentimes we don't really see, as teachers, we're usually focused on the element of the learning, the skills of the reading, the math, the English, and our core subjects. But these are those underlying situations that actually do occur that, if not handled correctly, they can really become problematic. So we're going to learn a little bit more about that. I even think in our society, what we've seen over the past year, it's been forever taking place, but now there's just a new awareness of conflict. And it says here, is it maybe personal, racial, having to do with class, and also our political views. So this is very important. Culturally, I think that I really wanted to bring this out and have this discussion because, as we've talked about a couple of weeks ago, within the Navajo culture and community, oftentimes there is not much diversity within culture, whereas in public schools, you might have just, a collection of various backgrounds and races and ethnicity. So you have a unique perspective on this. But again, we want to talk about and find some new ways of bringing conflict resolution. With that being said, here's the definition. Michelle, if you can read that for me.
Sure. Conflict resolution can be defined as the informal or formal process that two or more parties use to find a peaceful solution to their dispute. A number of common cognitive and emotional traps, many of them unconscious, can
exasperate.
Thank you. Exasperate conflict and contribute to the need for conflict resolution.
Yeah, it's so true. Thank you so much, Michelle. Yeah, with that, it is, that's what we're all looking for, ways of finding a peaceful resolution. And, we see this developing at a very early age. Even you guys know that I have a new grandson and Michelle has a new granddaughter. And my grandson is almost a year old now. And it's so incredible just to see how this area of will, the will develops at such an early age. And, even in, infants and toddlers, we see this in early education where this power of the will is developed. And, I find myself kind of perplexed sometimes in trying to navigate my will over his will and the strength that is behind it. At such an early age. So even in, preschool, and of course this takes place, this is mine, and, the conflict arises. So let's find some ways and some strategies to look at this from everyday conflicts and conflict resolution. Let's just take a quick view of this perspective. Hopefully I can get this going today. Okay. Something that I think we all might recognize.
When you hear the word conflict, what do you think of? Arguments? Quarrels? disagreements? And how do conflicts make you feel? Angry? Upset? Hurt? Frustrated? Conflicts are a part of everyday life, and they can happen in the classroom, on the playground, on the bus, at home, just about anywhere. Sometimes, a simple conflict can turn into hurt feelings or physical violence. But it doesn't always have to be like that. Conflicts can be resolved without anybody getting angry or hurt. In this program, we will show you simple ideas you can use and things that you can do to resolve a conflict in a peaceful and positive way. You'll learn the best ways to handle everyday conflicts. One day, Mike and his friend Byron were playing around and waiting for their friend Joe to arrive.
Woo! And it scores again! Okay, next game. Here we go! Let's see if you can catch 3 passes in a row. No problem. Let's do this. Catch this. That's number 1! That's number 2! You're so lucky. See if you can catch this one. Oh yeah! I think I could start at wide receiver next year. Well, that's not what Joe said the other day. What did he say? He said we'll win more games if you didn't play wide receiver. He said that? Yeah. He shouldn't talk. He fumbled 2 times in the game against Southport. I know. What are you gonna do? I don't know. But something. Let's go get something to eat. Touchdown! Try to make an extra point. I'll be right back. Hi, Mike. Hey, Joe. What's up? Nothing. We were gonna play video games today. Aren't you gonna let me in? No, I only let my friends in my house. What are you talking about? Don't be stupid. You know what I'm talking about. What? You said I shouldn't play receiver. You're whacked. Who said that? You did. And you shouldn't play running back because you fumble all the time. See? Hey, it's your fault we lost to Southport. You're an idiot. You are. No, you are.
Mike and Joe are involved in a conflict. They're very angry with each other, and that's too bad because people can stop conflicts from happening when they listen, talk it out, and get the facts. Mike and Joe didn't listen, talk it out, or get the facts. Instead, they accused each other and called each other names.
Don't be stupid. You know what I'm talking about. What? You said I shouldn't play receiver. You're whacked. Who said that?
Mike and Joe could have avoided the conflict if they used the conflict resolution skills. Listen, talk it out, and get the facts. Let's go back and see what can happen when Mike and Joe listen to each other, talk, and get the facts.
Hi, Mike. Hey, Joe. What's up? Nothing. We were gonna play video games today. Aren't you gonna let me in? No, I only let my friends in my house. What are you talking about?
Now, instead of calling each other names, let's watch Mike and Joe talk it out and listen carefully to each other.
Byron told me you said I shouldn't play wide receiver. I got angry because you were saying something behind my back. That's not exactly what I said, and that's not what I meant. What did you say? What I said is, the team would be better if you played linebacker instead of wide receiver. You said that? Yeah, you're the best tackler on the team. Oh. Everybody knows we need you more on defense. That's why you shouldn't play wide receiver. Oh, that's different. Yeah. Come on in.
When you listen carefully to each other and talk it out, you can get all the facts. And that helps everyone to understand what the problem is. It's very important to listen carefully to what the other person is saying. Sometimes when you're angry, that's not easy to do. So look right at the person who's talking and concentrate on what they're saying. If you don't understand something, ask them to explain. And when you talk, don't be nasty. Yelling, calling names, and blaming only make things worse. When you listen, talk things out, and get the facts, everyone can understand the problem. Most of the time, when you understand the problem, you can fix it without fighting. Now it's time for You Solve It. What would you do? You heard that a friend of yours is saying bad things about you. What do you say to that friend when you see them? Use listen up and talk it out to resolve the conflict. Kendra, Olivia, and Lizzie are in the school book club. They have just finished reading a book called The Last Kids on Earth. Their assignment is to work together to make a poster about the book, but it seems they don't always agree on the details of the poster.
What are you doing? Cutting out the letters for the title. Why are you using blue? Why not? Because the letters on the cover of the book are green. I like the blue. I think it's okay. No, it's not. Use this paper. I found pictures of zombies online. I think we should use that on the poster too. Okay. Oh, well, why don't you draw a picture of Jack? I think it should be about a foot tall. I don't want to do that. I'm doing all this work. We're supposed to share the work. I don't mind sharing the work, but you're being awfully bossy. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. You want us to do what you want, not what me or Kendra want. That's not true. I just want what's right for the poster. I have it all planned out in my head. I'm not cutting out new letters. I don't think you should. Don't you guys want to get an A? It doesn't matter. Yes, it does. Well, I don't really like any of your ideas.
Kendra, Olivia, and Lizzie are angry, frustrated, and upset. That's what can happen if you end up fighting, instead of trying to find a solution. It didn't have to be that way. They could have tried to work things out, come up with a solution that everyone could agree to. That's called a compromise. Let's go back and see what can happen when Lizzie, Olivia, and Kendra try to work things out. They try to compromise.
What are you doing? Cutting out the letters for the title. Why are you using blue? Why not? Because the letters on the cover of the book are green. I like the blue. I think it's okay. No, it's not. Use this paper. I found pictures of zombies online. I think we should use that on the poster too. Okay. Oh, well, why don't you draw a picture of Jack? I think it should be about a foot tall. I don't want to do that. I'm doing all this work. We're supposed to share the work. I don't mind sharing the work, but you're being awfully bossy. I just want what's right for the poster. I have it all planned out in my head. Well, we want to do a good job too. But we're supposed to be doing this together. Okay, how do you want to do this? I think that we should talk about it, then decide together. Okay, what about the letters? Well, Katie already made them blue. I know. I can cut out the green ones too, then use the blue ones as a drop shadow like this. That's an awesome idea. Yeah, cool. I still think Kendra should draw the characters. She's the best artist. Okay. I don't think the characters should be a foot tall. If they're smaller, the more we can fit on the poster. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I guess that's a good idea. Okay.
Lizzie, Olivia, and Kendra talked it out, and they each listened carefully to what the others were saying. Listening and talking it out helped each of them to better understand the problem and what was causing the problem. Then they worked it out. They came up with compromises that everyone working on the project agreed to. Now it's time for You Solve It. What would you do? You and your friend are going to watch a movie. You want to watch a scary movie. She wants to watch a comedy because she gets scared easily. What can you do? Try listen up, talk it out, get the facts. Then work it out and find a compromise.
Did you ever build a castle before?
No, but I've always wanted to.
I put together a remote control car once, but nothing this complicated. Thanks for inviting me over to help. I know you like this kind of stuff. That's why I invited you over. It'll be fun. What are you doing? Getting started. I wonder what this piece is for. How about we just dump it all out and start building? If you do that, you'll lose some pieces. How will we lose all the pieces? They'll all be in the room, right? How do you know those pieces even go together? Well, they fit perfectly. I want to make sure we put it together right. We need to read and follow the directions. I hate reading directions. I like to figure it out from the picture. There's too many parts. You're being lazy because you don't want to take the time to read the directions and do it right. I'm not being lazy. I just want to do it my way. But it's my thing, not yours. Where are you going?
So I will see you next Thursday, the 22nd at 9 a.m. Great, bye. Ava, where's Liv? I thought you guys were building the castle.
I can't do it with her. She won't listen.
What do you mean?
Liv dumped a kid on the floor. I want to build it from the directions, and Liv just wants to build it from the picture. She's so annoying.
Okay, go back in with Liv and I will be in a minute.
I don't want to. It's not fun.
Please go back in the room with Liv and we will talk. So, how's the castle coming?
Well, I have the pieces out mostly, but Ava doesn't think I'm doing it right.
Okay, let's try and work this out together. Let me make sure I understand the problem. So Ava, you're a little upset because Liv doesn't want to read and follow the directions.
Yep.
Okay. And Liv, you're a little frustrated because you just want to jump right in and start putting it together based on the picture.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well now I understand the problem. It's just that you both have different ways of working. So what you're gonna have to do is talk to each other a little bit more as you're putting together the castle. So Ava, let Liv put together all the pieces of each section. And in the meantime, Ava, you can read the directions out loud. That way Liv can make sure that she's putting together the pieces the right way. Does that sound like it'll work?
I think so. Yeah.
It's just you have different ways of working. Doesn't mean you can't work together. Okay, have fun.
Ava's mom came up with a great solution to resolve the conflict Ava and Liv were having. Now, both girls can work together and have fun building the castle.
Okay, so this flag goes on turret A, right here. Okay, I see how this works. Cool. All right.
Whenever it seems you can't resolve a conflict, you should ask for help. Ava asked for help, and her mom helped Ava and Liv come up with a compromise to work together. And it worked. We all face conflicts each and every day. Now you know a few ways to resolve the conflict and find a solution. First, don't yell, don't call names, and don't blame. And when you talk, don't be nasty. Yelling, calling people names, and blaming only make things worse. When you listen, talk things out, and get the facts, everyone can understand the problem. When you understand the problem, you can fix it without fighting. Then you can work it out. That means coming up with a compromise. A compromise is a solution that everyone involved with the conflict can agree to. And if you're having a problem finding a solution, it's okay to ask for help. Conflicts are a part of everyday life, and they can happen just about anywhere, at any time. Now you know that conflicts can be resolved without anybody getting too angry or hurt. You know how to handle everyday conflicts.
Actually do it. We kind of bomb out. I know I have definitely had that kind of situation where it doesn't always flow the way I want it to. Let's just quickly get some feedback about some of the takeaways about how we might be able to utilize this in the classroom from one aspect, and the other is how do we as individuals relate with this conflict even as an adult? Questions, takeaways?
Oh, here. I'll say this. Just I liked how they had an outline, kind of where step by step, kind of telling you walk through like the listen and then talk it out and um, get the facts. Um, uh, you know, even for older people, but especially for children, I think, you know, just having it roll out like that, um, first of all, gives them some direction, and I don't know, it's something easy to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Doreen, are you there with us? I wanted to get your professional opinion on how you, you know, perceived or were able to identify with any of these conflict resolution ideas.
Now, while I started, as I was watching, I'm over here thinking about, my students, and there's no really big major conflict that goes on in the classroom. They're little, I don't know. I think our students are they're more quiet.
Interesting.
They don't really, well, I don't see it in the classroom.
Right.
And there are maybe one or two that will disagree. Yeah. But it's only disagreeing. It's never a major conflict. And a lot of times they just kind of like the way we are raised, the way we just tend to just observe. We're more observers,
right,
and listeners before we say or speak.
Yes.
And that's the way our students are. That's the way I see these students in my classroom.
Right. Well, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. I can understand that for sure. With regard to it, it might be a cultural difference that, you know, you're basically, you know, maybe it's part of the cultural experience to be non-confrontational, maybe not really being reflective back to, you know, disagreements or whatever, just kind of easygoing, maybe getting along with each other, which is a great attribute to be able to have. I get it. You know, I know with me as growing up, as I think I've told you, I was pretty passive and I did not speak up at all. However, I did have opinions, but I was very, I guess, diplomatic to a degree, even fearful, you know, because of my insecurities of sharing my ideas, my thoughts with others. And unfortunately, what I found, what that did bring out in me is it caused me as an adult to become passive aggressive, you know, and in my mannerism, in my attitude, in my views or whatever, you know, you could kind of feel my, you know, disapproval or whatever. And it really manifests in being passive aggressive. And, you know, it wasn't until as an adult that I really did understand why that was really problematic. I just thought that it's just a way of getting along. You don't want to ruffle any feathers, but I had to really re-examine it. And, you know, after doing research and involved in education as well, I really wanted to get a handle on it. And so what I see is if we don't learn certain tools of negotiating and handling conflict resolution, it manifests its way in other areas. So,
and what I always tell my students, you know, it's okay to disagree.
Yes.
It's okay to, you know, if you don't like something, you need to say you don't like it. You don't always have to go with it just because somebody likes it. But if you're thinking in your mind that you don't like it, then say you don't like it. Speak it, you know, kindly. Just say you don't like it. You know, if somebody's bothering you, please leave me alone. Please don't touch me. I don't appreciate you touching me. Voice it out. I do tell them that though.
Yeah.
And then those are things that they're learning, because I don't think at home that that's really iterated at home or taught. So when they come into the classroom, those are some things that I think as teachers, we forget to teach them, because we're so focused on academic, and we kind of don't even look at that as much. But I do what I can stop at every time, or in the morning, talk about things that the social part of our, some skills and tools that they need. But it is, we were taught to just be quiet and just listen. But I've also learned myself as growing up, as becoming an adult, that no, I'm not going to just sit here and be quiet. If there's something I don't like, and that's something that is really bothering me, I'm going to speak. Yes. And that I'm, very passionate about, or something that's really irritating me, I will say. And I think those are good skills and tools that our children need.
Yes, absolutely. And it's important, just like you said, it's not just about the academics, et cetera, because as we all know, we can be a brainiac and have such terrible social skills and isolation, et cetera, that we are unhappy. So I think that it's important, whether or not we're actually experiencing these type of problems of, the bullies and being bossy, et cetera, it's part of a strategy that we can incorporate in the social aspect of our lesson planning. And whether or not students use it in elementary school, it's some new tools that they can use outside of the classroom, and even as adults. As you said, sometimes in the families, generational, that's not how it's done, and so we have to teach our students how to do this. So thank you so much for that. There is a comment by Mark. It says in the chat, as the adult, we need to have many sets of ears, yes, and eyes in the back of our heads, for sure. Always being open to conversations going on behind the scenes, so we have background knowledge we need. Yes, absolutely. We're going to get into that a little bit more. Our population is mainly related to each other. Yes, so it could be that thing of you don't want to necessarily hurt someone else's feelings. It's just when you're all in the family, it's just like we're supposed to understand if they have a bad attitude, or we get it or whatever. But as you stated here, coping skills is what you mentioned, Mark. Thank you so much for that. It's all true. And so these are the things that we need to still include, and it's part of those life skills. So the objectives that we hope to find throughout this is students will understand that when resolving a conflict, it is important to calm down before taking any action. So this is what we want to include: certain activities, role plays, etc. Even though they're not being exhibited, might not be problematic in the classroom, they do exist in the world, and we want to make sure that we equip the students. Students will understand that resolving conflicts requires one to be open-minded and to listen to the other person's side. Yes, just giving another person the opportunity, the time to be valued and to be heard is very important. Students will learn that there are good and bad ways to resolve conflict, and that compromise is vital to resolving conflict. Students will learn to make I statements rather than you statements when discussing a problem. That gets us in trouble all the time, whether it's in marriage, whether it's in friendship, whether it's in, peer to peer. When we reflect on these statements as you always, you never, you, it deflects, so much of the I and taking responsibility of what we are doing and how we can improve. So yeah, we need to definitely learn how to deflect between and differentiate between blaming and stating the I, or you always, or I always. And then the last part is that students will learn to take responsibility. Unfortunately, I forgot to put that on there. All right, the next part is having to do with the standards that are being addressed. You know, it's still pretty much the same portion of the standards that we're looking at in making sure that students will understand that when resolving a conflict, it is important to calm down before taking any action. And, you know, that idea of learning these skills of counting to 10 or having a timeout or learning to breathe, those things often do definitely have a strong case in developing certain standards. With that involved is now I want to take a look at this model that has been established in resolving conflict. And one is specifically called the restorative model. And it's having this restorative thinking process. There's something that I worked on as far as a theory that had been developed out of Arizona State University, which has to do with the 4 ways of thinking. And with that, you know, it's teaching students how to think about 4 different areas. It's learning a new teaching concept. One, of course, is we need to, when we're thinking, we need to think about the future way of thinking and how this will affect our future. The second is values or value thinking, and that is in the way of being true to our own values, our family values, our traditions, and our cultural values, and making sure that we're including those in our way of thinking. The next one is it refers to systems thinking. And I think this is what we're learning primarily today in how to go through certain steps in developing a system of how we're going to listen first and learning how to solve it and to work it out, to compromise, and then to ask for help, to use collaboration. So these would be ways of using systems thinking by us developing a system and how to resolve conflict. And then the last one is learning strategic thinking in coming up with a strategy of how to think through as a group as to how to solve whatever issue that is at hand. So as I said, this was a tremendous help to me in developing forms of research and dealing with people and teaching critical thinking in the classroom. And so now I want to share this restorative model with you, and I think it will be quite helpful. Let's see, am I using that particular model? I think we're using this one first.
Went yesterday. My role involves making sure the center stays vibrant to do. I am Greta McHaney-Trice. I work as the Executive Director for the Resolution Services Center in Lansing, Michigan.
Hi, Ms. Collier. How are you?
I'm okay.
okay.
Good. Thanks for letting me call you so late at night. And again, thank you for meeting with me yesterday. I'm just doing a follow-up call to see how you felt the meeting went yesterday. My role involves making sure the center stays vibrant to do the mission of the center, which is conflict resolution in many forms. We work with courts and small claims and those kinds of issues, domestic. But the work that we really enjoy and that I'm most familiar with is the work with students and youth in this educational situation.
Well, I think it went excellent yesterday.
Okay. What part did you think went well?
When the kids agreed to get along with each other.
Okay. The philosophy behind social justice is the fact that it recognizes there are injustices in society, whether it's in the legal system, the educational system, or in poverty or gender inequities. And those systems play a part in how people navigate their day-to-day existence. All right, that basically is it. Is there anything else you want to tell me?
No, ma'am.
Okay, well, thanks again. And should you have any issues or if the contract seems like it needs to be tweaked, would you please give me a call?
Oh, most definitely.
Okay, thank you, and you have a good night.
You too, bye-bye.
Bye. Quality education varies throughout the land. Some people have access to a lot of computers and technologies, where other people have limited resources because of their family background or their economic situation. All right, Miss Edith, I'm on my way to Waverly, then New Wexford, and I've got my cell phone if you need something, okay? All right, thanks.
See you later.
All righty. Hello, ladies. Thank you. There are many ways that cultural bias can be and impact the relationships between a student in the educational field. So between a student and a teacher of different race, they can often have miscommunications based on that. That problems get solved better using a restorative model than just getting to the surface of helping people get past, just say you're sorry or just move on. Because the issue that creates the problem often is not resolved through just quick means. Sometimes it doesn't matter, but oftentimes it makes a big difference. In the school environment, there are many people that may practice social justice and have that as part of their, but not as the whole school focus. You can have people that believe in social justice and not practice restorative practices. And you can have restorative practices without a social justice framework. And it's best when the both of those two ideologies are merged together, because you can resolve conflicts that have social injustice using restorative model. I'm going to go into Waverly and hopefully see one of the facilitators there, who is a very good facilitator. And we'll see what's going on. Build relationships with schools is an ongoing process, and it develops from me having contact with the students and our principals and administrators, and explaining them what it is and making sure there's a benefit in them for them. And the two of you guys work out what needs to happen. That sound like something you can do? Now, where did Mr. Roberts tell you to go?
He was when we go to the bench.
And sit down. And you can do that, can't you? Smile on your face? Happy? All right. Thank you so much. All right. I'm concerned about the restorative thinking room. Mm-hmm. Is it still restorative thinking, or is it just an in-school suspension? In most schools, punitive is the nature. It's the way if a student does something wrong, let's figure out what has to happen to him, whether it's suspension or discipline. That doesn't work to change behavior, and it doesn't work to build relationships. So the restorative model says if somebody has done something harmful, then let's find out what they need to do to fix it, as opposed to just punishing them.
Restorative Thinking Center is when we get the kids back, we want to restore them back to class. We think about what's going on, we sit here, we talk about it, and we get them back to class.
There's a difference between punishment that just leaves the situation there the way it is, and the student understanding.
The main objective is the RTC initiating that. That's what we do here.
And tell me more about what that looks like. What is What's the difference between this RTC room and what's going on at the other school? How is it restorative?
Here, the goal is to talk with the kids, figure out what's going on, work it out, get on the same page, and get them back to class so they can get their education. Because we're not helping them down here if they're not doing their schoolwork. That's why they came to school. So we get them here, let's sit it down, let's work it out, what's necessary. Then we contact their parents and let them know, look, your child was down here. You know, but we worked things out and we got them back to class. That's the objective. Because in most schools, again, it's punishment. You stay here all day, but at the end of the day, they're not learning nothing. And it's hard on the teachers because now you got a kid behind.
People in education have a great opportunity to deal with and help societies overcome the social injustices and biases that exist. One way is to familiarize themselves with restorative practices. That, I think, is one of the greatest tools ever. Restorative practices is the process of talking to individuals first and making sure that you understand what the issue is, setting a time that they can come together in a process of a circle or conference circle where they sit, ask 3 fundamental questions. What's happened? How has it affected everyone? And what needs to happen to remedy, move beyond, heal the hurt, the harm, the injustice, if you would, that's being caused by this misunderstanding. And people in the circle have the responsibility and the privilege of saying to each other, I would like this to happen.
We have this issue with the teenager, Zion. She's not getting along with her teacher.
Okay.
I've called parents, I've talked to her, I've talked to our school counselor, I've done all kinds of things, and we are stuck. I don't know what else to do with her. I don't want to suspend her, but we need to work through this problem together.
When the conflict arises or looks like it's about to arise, the principal may call in or the student may ask for a referral.
She's constantly doing things to attract attention. The boys are involved.
All right.
It's complicated.
Okay, so what I'll do is talk to Zion real quickly and maybe sit down with her and the teacher, or do you think Mom should be involved?
That's a really good question.
There may be a problem the parent might bring to the school's attention. The student's having issues. I'll talk to Mom, see what her feelings are, and then we'll make a decision as to who would be best in the circle to try to. Sounds like most of the conflict is in school. You haven't heard from Mom?
I've not heard from Mom, no.
Okay. Okay, then that's good.
So I think it's mostly between Zion and her teacher.
Okay. Well, the process begins with an intake for all those who might be involved in the process, getting information from the referral source, the teacher, talking to the student, and then talking to the teacher individually, and then scheduling a time where they can come together. And that's how the process begins, and at that time, we would schedule a place and time for the conference. Okay, I'll see where Zion is. Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Well, Zion. Talking to each person individually is vitally important because, number one, there's a safety issue and the opportunity for them to explain what's happened. And in listening as a skilled facilitator, that's what I'm doing, is listening for what's important to them.
Zion, thank you so much for coming with us today.
You're welcome.
And giving up your class time to meet with us and talk about the problems that you're having with your teacher right now.
Yeah, of course.
Restorative is relationship, and it's solution. Grab a chair. Okay. So what's happened between you and Miss Baker?
Yeah. Well, it started off with her comments about how people would talk and how we would act, and then it led to, with my grades, there was a person next to me, she got a higher grade than I did on a test. I mean, not on a test, on a homework assignment that I finished. I actually completed the whole assignment, and she completed about 3/4 of it, and she got a higher grade than I did.
Do you have any idea why you think the conflict is going on between you?
I don't really know. I just feel as if I'm just being kind of targeted. I'm not the only one who has this problem. There's other students who have this problem too. Okay. But I'm the only one who's addressed it.
Right. What's your grade in there?
My grade's a C+ right now.
Okay. And when you go into class, you haven't had any problems with the teacher before now?
No, not at all.
Okay. The main thing that I hope people recognize that this requires restorative practices and social justice requires a paradigm shift in people's
thought processes and their actions. You can't change actions without changing people's thinking and recognizing that problems exist.
Yes. I am just thinking a little bit about, as mentioned earlier, not a lot of this conflict resolution might not really be occurring in your current situation there at Cove, but as responsibility to us as educators, it's really preparing our students for the future and making sure that they have these skills. Any takeaways on this process at all for resolving conflict and the restorative model? Mark, we've heard from you in writing, but I have missed talking with you. Any comments?
Well, given, the big picture of kind of where our society is nowadays, like presently,
right.
Kind of emphasizes the importance of, empowering our little ones and teaching them these coping mechanisms and to be open-minded to other opinions. I think, just where we are right now is all the more reason to take this issue more seriously, period.
Right. Have you, are you familiar at all with this restorative model?
I'm not, restorative, like to restore
right.
means maybe come back to normalcy or come back to center.
Right.
That's all I can do is kind of break that word apart.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for your comments on that. And it's so true, if our little ones aren't able to cope and manage outside of our community, first of all, outside of the home, outside of the community, then bridging out into society, even if they, once they enter university life, where they're going to be just thrown into this new world of opinions and attitudes, and learning how to talk it out is so important. So yeah, I so appreciate you bringing that up. Even it's something. Even I remember years ago, we are a Christian family, and years ago we were in church on when my daughter was pretty, probably 5-6 years old, and kind of you go to Sunday school and you're learning just kind of the basics and biblical stories or whatever. And the situation was when we picked her up, she was just so unhappy and in tears and just really not wanting to go back to that church of which or the school, Sunday school. And so what happened was as they give you the little worksheets to work with and to play with, and this was coming against the sin nature of the world and using the colors of, white is good and angelic, and the color black is bad and sinful. And her examining herself, she was kind of like one of the only Black young kids in the church, and she had to take a look at that, and someone said, well, your skin is black, so does that, and she was just like, okay, I'm now not getting this. I don't know how to cope. I don't know how to deal with this situation. And so it just shows, I use this illustration as sometimes when we're just outside of our norm, what's normal to us, the simplest of things of what people are saying or teaching need to be thought through a little bit more. I mean, who would ever think that someone would get bent out of shape with someone saying, you know, white is good, black is not good? You know, for kids, that's a big thing. And yeah, and so within our society, we have to learn how to be sensitive, how to learn to be mindful of this understanding of culture and cultural biasness. And, you know, it starts with our little ones. And yeah, it took us, it took us a bit, you know, a bit of time to kind of walk her off of the ledge here of her self-esteem being so wounded. And, you know, within our church family of where they teach love and acceptance and all of that, this is now where we are learning some social justices from the church. Do you agree, Mark?
I'm not, you know, I can't really go all in on the
right.
Influence of the church, but more, you know, the like I said in the notes, the more exposure our kids have to other cultures, other beliefs, like you said, but you got to have the support of the adults in their lives as well to kind of, like you said, kind of steer them, you know, kind of down that fine line. You don't want to go from one, you know, to either extreme. I think you
Yeah.
kind of have to
Yeah, absolutely.
balance it.
Yeah, I totally agree with it. Yeah. And, you know, my point in that is, you know, people are having this new awareness of how do we spread this message of being able to restore our way of communication, getting along with each other, all of those things, that it's now becoming a little far reaching. It's now, you know, coming into our communities, town hall meetings, even in your, you know, like the FACE program, in churches, in, you know, all of these areas are coming to grips of it's our responsibility to instill new ways, new values of humans in general. So yeah, I mean, of course, that's an entirely different different lesson. But what we are going to look at a little bit more are some new ways of how you as educators can learn how to use these key points in conflict resolution. And that's what we've been discussing. Also, learning about literature-based educational methods in order to bring awareness into the classroom. And, you know, the objective to storytelling and the importance of storytelling and, you know, passing down these stories of our history, of our culture, and certain scenarios is really a fascinating way to help bring that into the classroom. And then third is using the questioning strategies as ways to combat this idea of conflict resolution. So this is interesting. You know, we often know how important literature is in teaching and learning, but now it's being suggested that we use, you know, books and knowledge and storytelling as a new way to really combat and share areas of conflict resolution. So let's take a quick look. This is really short, and I just want you to see this other objective of, whoops, sorry, this is not allowing me to go through. Just a moment. Okay, I think I'll have to use it this way. Okay. Come on. Huh. Not really wanting to do this, huh? give it one more try. Okay. Unfortunately, it's not allowing me to use this one. Okay, no worries. Let's just go through what I do have, and if I can get this up in a moment, we'll get back to this. But in this, it allows us to find new ways of transforming our classroom, and some of the best practices that we have learned in research are based on literature-based instructions that help enhance children's sense of empathy, sense of understanding others' perspectives, and this pro-social productive behavior. And so this is a little bit of what we've been discussing over the past 6 sessions in learning these life skills. And so through this literature-based instruction, we're really learning through stories of how children can truly learn how to transform this idea and thought of conflict resolution, empathy, and learning integrity, responsibility. All of these are new skills that we can use to develop our own life situations. So we're going to learn a little bit more about that. So there are 3 major themes that we want to take a look at. Michelle, can you read through these so we can identify and maybe discuss these 3 major themes?
Sure. There are 3 major themes found in children's literatures dealing with conflict resolution. The first is expressing feelings. The second theme is understanding other people's perspectives. The third are strategies that people use to resolve conflict. Feelings associated with conflict cover topics such as expressing feelings, articulating feelings, anger management, impulsive control, calming down strategies, and courage.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Yeah, so these are 3 major themes that we want to make sure that we are focusing on in, developing those feelings, understanding, and also this area of, I like the courage. Yeah, instilling courage. I think earlier, I believe was it Joanne that mentioned about the importance of, having this courage to speak up for yourself these days. So what are our feelings? How do we take a look at those? And so these different feelings that we're finding are associated with conflict, covers a vast area of different subjects and topics, such as expressing, again, those main ideas that Michelle just mentioned. And of these, it's, as educators, if we're able to keep this going on a regular basis and bringing it to the forefront, it kind of allows our students to feel that, yeah, it's okay, I'm okay, and I can express how I feel, whether I like this or dislike this or not. I know, in the situation of being adults, we still sometimes are a little timid about really sharing our feelings, and in fear of being ostracized or looked down upon, or always having to say or add something. And so oftentimes we are stifled, even as adults, in sharing our true feelings of who we are. And that's where we want to be able to learn how to share our feelings gracefully and thoroughly. In this particular area of this literature and teaching, the teacher can help model positive productive strategies for dealing with conflict. And here, the main thing is that we as instructors need to learn how and to continue to model dealing with conflict. I'm not sure often if ever there's a situation that we as adults in the classroom, it's not always easy going in the classroom from our leaders and, new policies and procedures that come up that affect our students. And so we need to keep an eye on how our modeling is, looked upon from our kids' point of view. Next, we need to look at strategies. Children can play or role play situations that they have been involved in that they've needed support and help with. And so again, when we're kind of learning some of the strategies and what to do in the classroom, we can set up, even though these things aren't happening in the classroom, as you've indicated, there might not necessarily be a lot of problems with conflict and conflict resolution, but we still need to find ways to share and teach this, just like we teach in school calculus and certain things that most students might say, I'm never really going to use this, but we still are required as educators at certain levels to teach certain things. So we need to make sure that we use role play as a strategy. And then the third one is support. Children can model and role play these situations by using stories in literature and making sure that we are continuing that. Again, in this area, as I'd mentioned previously, our roles as the educator has to do with our facilitation and our modeling. And we need to always make sure that our teaching is intentional, making sure that we have a method and outcomes and expectations of what we are bringing into the classroom. Also, it needs to be planned and making sure that they are in our lesson planning as an ongoing strategy. And again, always using good instruction, making sure that we're asking questions, open-ended questions, making sure that our students have clear understanding of our objective. And of course, as educators, we need to have continued learning experiences that will help to build confidence in ourselves and in our students. Looks like we have something in the chat. I also think that this is from Mark. The wider range of experiences and exposure to other cultures can expose our students to the sooner they realize that they are their different belief than theirs, and with some effort and support from adults in their lives will pay dividends in the long run. Yes, and this is what you had mentioned before. Once again, this shows the importance of early childhood education programs in every school and free early education being a priority in our country. Absolutely. It really is. I mean, it goes back to probably over 50 years ago, the implementation of, I always say, the Head Start program, that governmental program. I believe they were definitely on the right track in making sure that our parents and students make sure that they are getting the fundamental practices that are needed. Okay, so now the desired outcomes of what we're talking about, and I'll continue in this tutorial, it really has to do with learning how children's literature can provide a rich context in which to help children understand conflict and this conflict resolution. Teachers now have strategies that they can use before and after reading a story to help children understand and articulate their own feelings, understanding, and perspectives of others, and help prevent and de-escalate conflict when it arises in our own lives. So that's basically what this objective is looking to do. So again, you know, really looking into this self-reflection before we move on to the final portion of learning some of the techniques. How about some self-reflection? It states here, can you reflect or remember a time when you were dealing with a conflict? And anyone want to talk about that?
I can share one.
Okay.
Years ago, again, it was in, well, mine too also was in a church setting. And, you know, I'm thinking one thing in my head, and I guess they're thinking something else in their head. And so the fact that we came together and, like you said, first of all, they listened, we talked it out, and, you know, kind of got the facts about what was going on, and they were able to hear how it was making me feel. And then also they were sharing, you know, their aspect of what they thought. And it really resolved the issue that that I could have walked away with, just thinking, you know, these people are having some kind of attitude towards me.
Mm-hmm.
And where just kind of going through these steps, we were able to work it out and get a resolution.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I think it is something that, and again, my idea of the importance of taking these tools outside, that, you know, into the real world outside of the school environment, is the important things to be able to kind of take with us, and, you know, learning these of to how to express ourselves and how to really deal with conflict. So thank you so much for sharing with that. Again, you know, the goal is to make sure that we support, that we also challenge certain situations as far as, you know, not allowing them to escalate, and to make sure we find out ways of the benefits of this different type of learning. So now I have some new educational tools that I wanted to share with you that, you know, I just feel that, you know, there's often some new things that pop up in the world, and this is something that I just quickly wanted to share with you. And we might not get through all of it, but I want to take care of these 5 new apps. And then I will also give you all the resources that you can download them, and make sure that you will have all of these at your, you know, fingertips in order to utilize those. So let's see if this one is going to work for us. Yeah,
Today we're looking at 5 tools that can help you make your online lessons more engaging and more interactive. It's time we stop just lecturing through Zoom or Google Hangout and actually engage our students in activities and make our sessions more interesting and more interactive. And my hope is that by the end of this tutorial, you will be able to do that. The tools will work equally well for Zoom, Google Hangouts, or any other video conferencing software that you are using. So the 5 tools that we are looking at today are WooClap, Online Stopwatch, No Hands App or Classroom Screen, Quizzes, and PowerPoint Games. WooClap is an amazing tool to use to make your virtual lessons more engaging and more interactive. And this is what it looks like when you run a typical WooClap activity with your students. This is what it looks like from the teacher's end. I've already created an account. I created a series of questions for my students to engage in. So all I need to do is click start and then paste this link onto my Zoom session. My Zoom session is right here. I have myself here and I have 3 students. So what I'm gonna do, I'll simply paste this link to my students. Let's quickly switch to students for you to see how they will participate. I'm gonna click on chat, open the WooClap, and this is how easy it is for students to join the WooClap. So my first question would be, where in the world are you? Here students need to point to the area and click submit. Once they've done that, from the teacher's side, I can click and show the results. I have 3 responses from my students. What I can also do as a teacher is share my screen with the students so they can see the responses of other kids. Let's quickly move on to the next question. You will notice that once students start answering the questions on WooClap, I as a teacher can see the results. Our last question is, how do they feel about starting a new school year? If I type good here, the good will appear in the middle of the screen. If I then take another student and type okay, this will appear on the screen as well. And now I have one more student who will say a bit sad, and this will appear on the screen as well. If you are interested to learn more about the WooClap, there will be an in-depth tutorial as to how to set things up, how to create an account, how to create the questions, and how to run the WooClap with the students. So all this will be in the in-depth tutorial. The link will be in the description to this video. The next tool that will make your online lessons engaging and interactive is going to be Online Stopwatch. To access this tool, all we need to do is search for Online Stopwatch, and this is the website that we are looking at. So let me quickly show you how I normally use it, and then I'll give you a couple of recommendations. Once the stopwatch is loaded, you need to click on Open the Stopwatch in full screen, because there are quite a lot of advertisements on the website, so we want to click on super full screen, and that's the user interface that I personally like. What I normally do after that, I go to Zoom, then click on share my screen, and then I can ask a question to the students to think about. Let's say I want to review the content of a previous lesson and I want to give them 1 minute to just sit and reflect or remember. From the students' end, this is what they see. They have my screen, which is the countdown, which will give them time to think. Very straightforward and very easy tool. Another thing I really like about Online Stopwatch is that it just has tons of other materials and resources. There are random name pickers, there are different classroom timers, dozens of different designs. The Online Stopwatch resource is pretty straightforward. It has lots of tools that you can use. I personally like quite a few of them, and I'll be doing an in-depth tutorial as to how I personally use this in my online lessons. No Hands app is by far my favorite classroom management tool, and this is what it looks like. It's just a tray window that will generate random names of students. I would like to suggest just one way how you can use this tool with your students. So this is a Google slide that I created for my class. It has a little story and some of the questions. What I will do, I'll go back to the Zoom, I'll click on screen share my screen. And this is one of the important things we need to do when we use No Hands app. We need to share the entire screen. Click present. And here you go. So this is what the students see now. They can see my screen, they can see the story and the No Hands app generator. I will pose the question to the students, who are the characters in the text? And then what I will do, instead of asking students to volunteer, I'll quickly click on No Hands app, and this will generate a name of the student to answer. First thing it does, it keeps your students engaged, because at any point during the class, their name could come up and they will need to answer. The second thing is just an engaging way to call on students rather than asking them to raise their hands or wait for volunteers. We have another question. What is the genre of the text? I will again click on the name, and as you can see, the No Hands will pick another student. I will have another question, then pick another student. And this is the beauty of the No Hands app. It's simple, it's straightforward, but it's very engaging. If you want to know how to set it up, where to get it, I will leave the link in the description. Follow the link and everything will be super clear. The biggest downside of this software is that it only works on Windows computers. But luckily, we have a similar app that will work on Mac computers as well. And this is what we're going to talk about now. The app that I'm referring to is called Classroom Screen, and that's the website classroomscreen.com. Another beautiful platform to use, not only to select random names of students, but just generally a really nice tool to use whether you are teaching online or offline. In this tutorial, we'll just look at one of the features, which is random name. It works nearly the same as the No Hands app. First thing we need to do is to input the names of the students, then it will basically generate a name. Again, you will need to share your screen and then run this application alongside your PowerPoint or Google Slide. Classroom Screen name generator is not as simple as No Hands, but it's at least a substitute when you are working on a Mac computer. All right, moving on, we have Quizzes, another amazing app to use during your Zoom or Google Hangout lesson to engage and interact with your students. This is the website that we're looking for, quizzes with double Z at the end.com. Once you've created your quiz, all you need to do is to copy the link to your Zoom chat, which I'm doing right now. So once it's there, all your students will need to do is simply click on this link right here. They will click on this link and input their name. So now I have 3 students who joined my quizzes, and I'm about to start the game. This is how the quizzes start. This is what we see from the students, and all students have different sequence of questions. And once I start answering those questions from students, and you'll notice that as a teacher I can see progress live. You can see what's the accuracy level, how many questions have been answered correctly, and also the lineup of your students, and again, how many questions they are answered incorrectly, how many questions they answered correctly. Another interactive aspect of quizzes is that students are able to see their standing in comparison to other students in their classroom, which plays on their competitiveness and again increase the engagement and interactivity. If you're not delivering lessons online, it's still a great app to use to engage your students and make your lessons more interactive. PowerPoint games are just an amazing tool to use to make your lessons more engaging, more interactive, regardless of whether you are teaching online or you're teaching face-to-face. It's just an amazing resource. However, many educators have forgotten about these tools because now we have Kahoot, we have quizzes, we have Quizlets, we have so many things online that good old PowerPoint games simply got forgotten. But I'm here to revive them a little bit. So what I'm going to do today, I will demonstrate one of the games that I've created when I was teaching English as a foreign language, and this is what it looks like. I will actually play this game now to demonstrate to you how you can use this game with your students. So first thing you want to do is to share your screen with your students. So run the PowerPoint and click on Microsoft PowerPoint share. So once you've shared your screen either in Zoom or Google Meet, your students will see the PowerPoint Monsters and Dinosaurs. This is where I will explain the rules that in this game I as a teacher will ask questions. It could be revision questions or any kind of questions relating to the content. When a student or team answers the question correctly, they will have a chance to pick a square. And this is what it looks like. These are the squares that they will be picking. When they pick the square, there could be 4 different outcomes. If they see a dinosaur, that means they just scored 2 points. If they pick a square and there's an angry minion hiding behind it, that means they can steal or take 1 point from another team. If they pick a square and there's a happy minion, they score 1 point. And if they pick a square and there's a rotten orange, they will lose 1 point. And this is how the game goes. The first stage, I will ask a question to the students. Let's say I'm following up on the food chain activity that we just did in Quizlet. So I will say, describe a consumer. I will then pick a student or a team using No Hands app. Once they answer the question correctly, they will be able to select one of the squares. So let's say a student selects square B3. Once they selected the square, they will see a happy median, and this is what they see on the screen, and that would mean they just scored 1 point. I will then move on to the next team, or again use one of the tools that we've talked about previously, No Hands app or classroom screen, which will enable me to pick the student or a team to answer my question. I've used this game with elementary, middle, and high school students, and all those times the game went with a blast. Really cool game. I will leave the link to this PowerPoint in the description, and then I will be doing another follow-up tutorial on other PowerPoint games that I think lend themselves really well to online instructions and then can be used to make online lessons more interactive and more engaging. Today we've looked at 5 simple tools that you can use to make your Zoom lessons more engaging and interactive for the students. The 5 tools that we've looked at were WooClap, Online Stopwatch, No Hands app or classroom screen, quizzes, and PowerPoint games. If you like this episode, you might check out my other tutorials on educational technology, and I will leave a couple of links in the description. Thanks for taking your time to check out this tutorial. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you next time.
Well, thank you guys so much for that. And as I mentioned, there are, the list of the different apps. And then also I have the links that you can just go, and I will also add these to our chat. So you'll have them as well. But yeah, they're very helpful. Are any of you familiar with any of the ones we just watched? Let's see, got some in the chat. Mark says no, Joanne says no. Yeah, they are very user-friendly. Darlene says no. Well, good, I'm glad that I was able to share these with you because they're free, first of all, and they're very useful and engaging. And whether or not you're using them online or, in remote learning or just on Zoom, you can, once you get back into the classroom as well, you can use them, and they're very, very helpful. Has anyone used, looks like it was no to everyone, uses the timer and PD meetings, yeah, for breakout. Yeah, those are really good. One is really, really clever, that, let me see if I can quickly go there, because Quizlet is something that I have used, and oh my gosh, it has such good information and just can help you. I hope it opens real quickly. I do have an account with this. So as you can see, it has for, oh no, this is quiz. I wanted Quizlet, sorry. Quizlet, I believe. As I said, yeah, I have my own account because I use this in my, my classes so much at the university. And they are just wonderful. You can just go on and you can create your own Quizlet, or there's just a library of, let's see if there's any one, explanation folder, classes. It's not opening what I wanted, and I don't want to take the time, but for example, if you want to just know about terms. So what it is just, you can either find the lesson already that's already been established by another teacher perhaps, or you can simply set up your own flashcard situation. And it's so incredible. Of course, it gives you the term, it gives all of the information, but if you click on it, then it gives you the definition. So it's a great study tool. This one is something, of course, for university level, but then you just click on and it gives you all the information. And I use it quite a bit, but for study purposes, or if I want my students to know certain terms, you can make it as creative and or simple as you would want. And so, also you can start with different games, etc. It just has a lot of different things, matching, etc. But it's Quizlet is the name of it, and I wanted to make sure that I shared that with you, because I certainly have enjoyed using it. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish up with the other parts of the information that I do have for you. Again, we are talking about this conflict resolution. Of course, as always, I like to give you a tool chest of information that you can use. As you can see here, these are the materials that you would need in order to put together a lesson for teaching conflict resolution. And, we go through the I do, we do, and then just, the different elements of what you're going to use, a sheet of paper, and then we have some other information that I'll share with you in just a moment. We went through already the standards that we are going to be addressing. This one has to do with, this one has to do with starters, as we always have a starter that we like to start off with. Michelle, can you read this particular starter that you might be able to use in your classrooms?
Sure. Explain to the class that conflict is when people disagree or argue about something. Ask students, have you ever been involved in a conflict at home or at school? What happened? Discuss as many of the students' examples as time allows. Tell students, conflicts are going to happen, but there are good and bad ways to resolve them. We're going to learn about this today.
Great, thank you. So that's another way of just using one of these starter exercises. If you're going to do one a week or one per day, these are just areas that you can use. So this one is teacher presented knowledge. I do, and it's about 10 minutes. Before class, create a chart titled, of course, Conflict Resolution Plan. Underneath the title, write the following conflict resolution strategies. So then you just list these. As you can see, it's pretty self-explanatory, a lot of what we've gone over today, but this will give you a way to start them on that road to building that model of how you can utilize that particular style. The next one is guided student practice, the we do, and this is about 15 minutes, and it's a way for students to go through and practice. Say to the students, now it's your turn to try each strategy. First, let's take a deep breath, calming breath, breathe through your nose, and you're just kind of teaching them this way of doing this. It's very self-explanatory. It's just 3 steps. Then you're going to tell them to read something from a specific statement, and you can make those up as you go, or you can use these examples that are here. And then finally, you're going to read and explain the sample conflict and ask students to brainstorm different ways of situations to consider. So you'll have this explanation available for you as well, as far as doing the guided student practice. This other one is that has to do with student independent practice. It's about 15 minutes, of which you can read through this particular situation. You write up a specific conflict scenario on a piece of paper, and then you're going to pair it with the students, and then they can work through this together. So, you know, it's easy to read through this step by step actually of what you would need. And it's about a 15-minute exercise. And this might be something that you can use, even if it's, you know, remote, giving students a time to pair up or as a group or a team and work those different independent practices. And then as always, have some type of closure, about 5 or 10 minutes, and you can call upon partners to share the resolution of their conflict, and then go through the 4 different steps and just kind of have this discussion time. And of course, it's very important always to have these questions for assessment. And so basically there's usually 3 or 4 of these questions that you can end with as far as an assessment or what the students have or their takeaway. What are some of the things you can do to avoid conflict is one. Can good friends have conflicts and still be good friends? And how do you feel after you've had successful resolve conflict? So these are some of the areas that of course, I will provide this after today online. Then again, these lesson extensions having to do with either technology, drama, culture, literature, or PE. Today, we're specifically focusing on culture. I'm going to skip through this one and come back. We're going to talk about culture and drama. You can easily do that role play that I mentioned. Again, just have students come. You can even have props or whatever, but role playing for resolving conflict is a great way of pointing this out. The ELA extension have students write about the time that they helped resolve a conflict. Yeah, maybe someone as a peacemaker, you know, that mediator. That's another good way. And then again, this literature extension is the main focus of what we want to have you as the educator start illustrating through books, literature, and information. This one is, there is a YouTube video that's attached here, and it's called Matthew and Tilly, and it's by Rebecca C. Jones. And this just gives you, after you read, you know, after you view the story, it tells this beautiful story, and then you can ask these questions afterwards. Additionally, these are some other books and literature suggestions that you can use that helped to, you know, kind of work through conflict resolution. And you can look these up online, obviously, or, you know, if you have them in your library, they do often have these stories where you can have them, you know, read. They're being read by a professional and telling the story, and then you can have the question and answer after. But these are 3 nice books that you can use the literature extension in having ways to resolve conflict and conflict resolution. These are some scenarios, of course, that you can set up. You can change these according to your, you know, the grade or the level of your student. And, but this might give you a heads up of what you can work on these particular conflict scenarios and then talk about them. Of course, you know, they're all pretty simple, but they are available for you to use and to present those in your class. Actually, I have one more thing that I wanted to show. Sorry for rushing through it, but I wanted to make sure that I provided this with you because this is another wonderful tool. I use this actually, again, with my university students while I was in China, is where I first you started utilizing it, but creating your own crossword puzzle. And so I just wanted to share this link with you and just quickly go through it and allow you to see how simple it is. And I just love this. Hopefully it's, why aren't you opening today? Huh, interesting. Wow, can't be reached. So sorry, blessed are the flexible, because I will definitely share this link with you. I don't know why I can't get on that right now, but I wanted to definitely share it with you. Mark has stated here, although I haven't used the strategy much, using puppets is also a good strategy. I agree. Yeah, definitely. That's a good strategy. But jot down, or I will send this to you, the puzzle maker. It's so user friendly. You just basically, you have a list of what you want. You just place in your words on one column. You just kind of type them in, and then you go through this particular process, and which words you want on the up or across, up, down, or across, and it just formats it for you. So really, I would encourage you all to use that. Okay, sorry to speed through it. I wanted to combine a couple of the items of online. I had planned to do this last week, but we ran out of our last session on the 4th, but we ran out of time. So I just kind of rushed through, but I wanted you to have those as well. So, well, without any further ado, does anyone have any questions or comments before we end today? I'll give you a moment.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for everything you've done for us over these months.
I know. Wow. I know. We brought the whole year in together. I really appreciate it. It's been a real learning opportunity for me, and it's really allowed my passion to come into play with regard to really doing more research on how and what is needed within the various nations. And yeah, it's just been great. I appreciate any comments that you might leave on takeaways. I appreciate that you've given me information moving forward. I am going to bid again to see if I can continue next year and see how we can continue learning and building together. So I really do appreciate your time, and please take a moment. I'll leave the session up. I would really appreciate if you could leave some comments of your takeaways, and I will send out a more official evaluation form, and that you can comment on after today. But again, I wanted to thank each and every one of you for your attentiveness and really being involved over these last few sessions. I've learned a lot from you, and I appreciate you sharing. Yeah, with that said, Michelle, you have any closing thoughts, or you want to say goodbye until the next time?
Yeah, well, I guess, yeah, it's been a pleasure being a part of this as well. And it was really enjoyed the opportunity of meeting each and every one of you. And I thank you, that you guys shared all the comments that you did and your teaching strategies, and letting us into your Cove Day experience. And I've truly enjoyed it, and thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. All right. Well, on behalf of Global Ed, thank you so much, and hope to see you next time. Enjoy your summer. And again, I will send out an evaluation form. I'd really appreciate it that, you share it, of course, with Ms. Benally, and then also with me to see how we can improve and move forward. So thank you so much. Stay safe and continue learning. Really appreciate you joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Christine.